Before most of the world wakes up, thousands of military personnel are already beginning their day. Every uniform carries symbols of rank. Every rank carries responsibility, and every responsibility fits into a carefully organized chain of command. But how did this extraordinary hierarchy become the backbone of the U.S. military? It can determine who gives you orders, who you are responsible for, where you live, what decisions you can make, and how much pressure you carry. But what would your life actually look like as you climb through every major rank? From the moment you enter as a recruit to the moment you become a general, every promotion changes your world. This is what your life could look like as you rise through the ranks of the U.S. military. Your journey begins before you even earn your first rank. You arrive at basic training as a recruit, surrounded by people you have never met and instructors whose job is to break down your civilian habits and build military discipline. Your mornings start early, your bed has to be perfectly made, your uniform has to be prepared, and even small mistakes can bring immediate correction. You run, exercise, learn military customs, practice basic skills, and spend hours learning how to operate as part of a team. At this stage, you have almost no authority. You follow instructions, learn quickly, and try to survive the intensity of training. But if you make it through, you earn your first real step into military life. As a private, you are now officially part of the force. You are still at the bottom of the hierarchy, but your responsibilities begin to increase. You perform basic duties, maintain equipment, follow orders, and learn from soldiers with more experience. Your daily life can be exhausting, but you are also learning the foundations of military professionalism. You quickly discover that being a soldier isn't just about physical strength, it is about reliability. If your team needs you at 5 a.m., you are there. If your equipment needs maintenance, you handle it. Your reputation begins with small actions. Then comes private first class. The difference may look small on paper, but your experience is changing. You have gained some experience and are expected to understand the basics without constant supervision. You are still receiving orders, but now newer soldiers may look to you for guidance. You start learning that leadership does not always begin with a promotion. Sometimes it begins when someone trusts you to do the right thing without being watched. Next comes specialist, one of the common enlisted ranks in the U.S. Army. At this stage, you may have developed valuable technical or professional skills. You could become highly experienced in communications, mechanics, intelligence, logistics, medicine, or another military specialty. Your value isn't necessarily measured by how many people you command. Instead, it comes from what you know. A good specialist can become the person everyone turns to when something goes wrong.
But if you choose the leadership path, your next major step can becoming a corporal. Suddenly, your responsibilities become much more serious. You may supervise other soldiers and become responsible for making sure tasks are completed correctly. You are no longer only responsible for yourself. If your team succeeds, you receive credit. If your team fails, you may have to explain why. This is where military leadership starts becoming real. Then you reach sergeant. For many soldiers, this is where the military begins to feel completely different. A sergeant can become the backbone of a unit, responsible for training, discipline, performance, and the development of junior soldiers. You are expected to know your job and help others learn theirs. Your soldiers may come to you with problems that have nothing to do with equipment or missions. You may become a mentor, instructor, and leader all at once. The uniform looks similar, but the weight behind it is much heavier. As you progress into staff sergeant and sergeant first class, the scale of your responsibility grows. You are no longer simply leading a small group through daily tasks. You may be managing larger teams, training junior leaders, coordinating operations, and helping commanders understand what is happening at ground level. Experience becomes one of your greatest assets. You have probably seen mistakes before, and your job is to prevent them from happening again. Then comes Master Sergeant and eventually Sergeant Major. At these levels, you have spent years inside the military system. You were no longer simply thinking about your own performance or even one small team. You were thinking about entire organizations. A senior enlisted leader can influence training, discipline, morale, standards, and the professional development of hundreds or even thousands of soldiers. Your voice carries enormous weight, even though you may not hold a commissioned command position. You have become one of the people who preserves the culture and standards of the force. But there is another path, becoming a commissioned officer. Instead of climbing exclusively through enlisted ranks, you enter a different leadership structure. As a second lieutenant, you suddenly have formal authority over soldiers who may have far more experience than you. This can be one of the strangest transitions in military life. You might be young, but your position requires you to make decisions that affect people with years of experience. Your job is not to pretend you know everything. Your job is to learn quickly, listen to experienced leaders, and make responsible decisions.
As a first lieutenant, you gain experience and greater responsibility. You begin understanding how leadership works beyond textbooks and training exercises. You manage people, resources, planning, and operations. Mistakes become lessons, but some mistakes can carry serious consequences. Every decision teaches you something about leadership. Then comes captain. At this point, you may command a company-sized unit or hold another significant leadership position depending on your career path and branch. You are no longer simply leading a small team. You are responsible for a much larger organization. Your days can involve meetings, planning, training, administration, logistics, and constant decision-making. The higher you climb, the less your job becomes about doing everything yourself, and the more it becomes about making sure the right people can do their jobs effectively. As a major and then lieutenant colonel, your perspective becomes even broader. You may work with complex operations involving large formations and multiple specialties. Strategy becomes increasingly important. You are thinking several steps ahead instead of simply reacting to what is happening in front of you. As a colonel, your responsibilities can become enormous. You may command a major organization or serve in a senior staff position where your decisions influence thousands of personnel. And then comes the world of generals. As a brigadier general, you enter a level where decisions can affect entire formations and major military operations. As a major general, lieutenant general, and eventually general, the scale becomes enormous. At the highest levels, you are no longer thinking about one squad, one company, or even one battalion. You are thinking about national missions, strategic objectives, resources, alliances, readiness, and the consequences of decisions that can reach far beyond the military itself.
At the very top, a general's life is almost completely different from the recruit who once struggled to make a perfect bed. There are meetings with senior government officials, complex strategic decisions, enormous organizations, and responsibilities that can affect the lives of countless people. Every promotion has taken you further away from the simple question of what do I need to do today, and closer to the much bigger question, where should the entire organization go next? But here's the most important part. Climbing the military hierarchy isn't simply a story about power. Every higher rank comes with greater responsibility. The more authority you gain, the more people depend on your judgment. A private is responsible primarily for doing the job correctly. A sergeant is responsible for helping a team succeed. A commander is responsible for an organization. A senior general can carry responsibility for missions affecting an entire nation. So, from the recruit standing nervously on the first day of training to the general sitting at the highest levels of military leadership, the journey is really a journey from following orders to carrying responsibility. The uniform may change, the insignia may change, the number of people you lead may change, but one thing remains constant. Every new rank demands more discipline, more knowledge, and more responsibility than the one before it. And that's what makes the military hierarchy so fascinating. You don't simply climb a ladder. With every step upward, the ladder gets heavier. Thanks for watching.